a lot of entrepreneurs don't like it when you challenge them. And that's sad because they need that. They need that challenge. And so you have to know when to push and when to just shut up. And, I'm going to now at this age, in my stage of life, I tend to push. I tend to be really truthful. I tend to be really honest because I have learned if you're not honest, if you're not truthful, it just doesn't pan out for anyone involved. And hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. Thank you for being here today. Today I want to talk to you about listening to your gut as a business owner. And this is maybe more for women business owners because we tend to listen to our guts maybe a little bit more so than male business owners. But I am Christian. I'm Catholic, so I very much believe in the good Lord and listening to what he has to say. But sometimes, your gut, you just kind of get that feeling when you talk to people, especially as women. You'll start talking to someone and you're like, I don't know if I really like this person, or wow, I'm really meshing with this person. Usually I mesh with people who have the same sign as me. I'm a Sagittarius, born in December. And the other day, I was really hitting off with a woman and we were literally born a day apart. So yeah, that's kind of fun if you kind of believe in that whole thing. But yes, today as a business owner, I want to talk to you about listening to your gut and whether or not you should work with a client specifically. So this was prompted because I actually had a friend of mine reach out to me last Friday and said, hey, I'm going to introduce you to someone I'm working with on some things. And this friend of mine does PR and marketing, more PR, organic PR and paid PR. And she was talking with this gal, and this gal kind of made an offhand remark like, oh, the boss, she's been doing her social media all on her own, and the business has been going since 2023. And I'm looking for someone to help, offset that for her. And so my friend was like, I have the perfect person who can do social media for you. Let me connect you and Michelle together. So she did. And I immediately jumped on it. When the iron's hot, the fire's hot, the iron has to strike. Is that? So I immediately jumped on and said, hey, thank you so much. Let's get together if you have time this afternoon. Let's chat here on Friday. So we did. And I learned a little bit more about her business or this friend's business that she's helping with. And it was, honestly, it was even before I talked with her, when the friend that connected us, sent me the link to the business and everything, I was like, I don't know if this is in my wheelhouse. Look, you can do social media for anything to a certain extent, right? Usually the same kind of algorithms and the same kind of build a community and the same kind of be authentic, that just kind of covers all genres when it comes to social media. But there are nuances within certain organizations. I do work in the hunting, shooting, and fishing world. Now that world is completely different than my client who sells fireplaces, right? Those are two different things, but there are similarities between the two, obviously using the algorithms and knowing the algorithms for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube that, work across the board. So this was a client in a space that I've never worked in, that I've never been in, but, I'm always willing to try and always willing to talk to somebody. But when she sent the link to the website, I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure if this space is necessarily for me. It's very consumer driven. I know you're going to want to work with influencers, which is fine. I work with a lot of influencers. I love working with influencers, believe it or not. I know how to set boundaries with influencers. I know how to write contracts. So I always have a good experience with influencers, unless they're dumb. But that's a side story. Anyway, so I had a call with her, and, immediately I learned, because she said that the owner, I thought she said they worked with other social media companies and it didn't work out well. Well, what I learned was the owner has been doing the social media since 2023. And she said to me, well, she has a certain vibe and she wants a certain look. And the space that we were working with is kind of dark and moody. And yeah, there's like a certain vibe. I get that. There's a certain like brand that she's going after. I totally get that, that you want to apply that to your social media. And so I said to her, I'm like, well, did you hire a photographer? Like, oh no, she's just using her iPhone for a lot of this. And yes, we did hire a photographer for some things, but for the most part, she's just, doing her own thing. And just the more we talked about this owner, I'm like, I just red flags. And the first red flag is working with business owners, entrepreneurs who own their own business. This is their baby. This is their bread and butter. They put everything into this business. And then they want to work with you to help with marketing, PR, social media, whatever it is. Even though you are the expert, even though you were recommended by another friend, it doesn't matter because this is their baby. And that's a red flag for me. I have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners over the years. And what I have learned, they don't want to let it go. They have a really hard time of letting things go. Now, this is across the board. I don't care what kind of business you are in. You could be having an animal shelter and you're doing all the things. I actually have a girlfriend who's working for an animal shelter in Wisconsin, and the business owners hired her to do the marketing, and she's been with them since January, and they have yet to have her do the things they hired her to do. She's completely bored. So when I work with business owners and entrepreneurs, yes, it's fun and exciting. Usually things move very fast. You get yeses, you get nos, you get approvals, and that's great. They're very collaborative. They're very creative. But there's this dark side of working with business owners and entrepreneurs in that they don't want to give up the things that they've been doing. And they have really hard trust issues with people, which I totally understand. And that was the thing I told this woman on the phone was, your owner is going to have to trust me. I have been doing this for a very long time, 20 years. I was on MySpace, okay? We were doing social media on MySpace when I worked for a national cable network. So I just need you to trust me, and let's get together and let's meet in person and let's see if the vibes check out and let let's see if this works. I'm not asking the owner to leave the social media 100% to me. That owner needs to be there, needs to be present and participatory. We need that authentic content. All I'm saying is you got to trust me. When I come to you and say, hey, this is trending right now. Let's try this trend. Let's try this reel. Let's do this. Someone, I saw this. Let's try that. Like, you have to trust the process. And a lot of business owners, like I said, they've been burned. Whatever it may be, it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them and their past experiences. And they just have a really hard time. And I've seen, like I said, I have seen this over and over. And it doesn't matter if they're a woman or a man, if they're young or they're old, it does not matter. They expect a lot from you. That's the other thing. This woman did not have a budget, which is another red flag. So to me, that says you don't have a lot of money. I have learned in the 15 years of running my business, when someone tells me they do not have a budget, it usually means they don't have a lot of money. I have a minimum that I charge per month to do social media consulting or PR consulting or whatever it is. I kind of liken it to Naomi Campbell back in the 90s, the supermodel. She said she doesn't roll out of bed for anything less than 10,000. My number's not 10,000, but that's kind of where I am. There's a certain limit after you run a business where you're bringing a lot to the table. You're bringing a lot of intelligence, a lot of history, a lot of knowledge to the table, and that needs to be reconciled and recognized in the monthly retainer that you are charging. I'm not some 20-year-old who's just graduating from college and is going to charge you, $25 an hour. That isn't going to happen. We can separate, we can part ways. Peace be with you. So that was the second red flag when they say they don't have a budget. And it's like, okay, well, I have my standard budget. Sometimes I will give them a couple different tiers, like I'll have my standard tier and like, hey, if you want to do a little bit more, this is what we can do with a little bit more, just to kind of give them, options. But so that was the second red flag. And then we were just talking more about our businesses, and it was interesting because she was asking me about my business and who I like to work with or whatever. And I said, I just like to work with cool people. I literally have never had anyone ask me who I like to work with. I thought that was such a strange thing to ask, but honestly, I guess it's kind of smart. I just like to work with cool people. Honestly, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur. I don't care if it's corporate America. Just be cool. Just be, just do your job. Just answer your emails. Just pick up the phone. Just do your job. And it's funny how many people actually don't do their job. So those are the two things. I have to listen to my gut on this because we were on the phone, like I said, it was Friday afternoon, and she said, oh, I have this marketing plan and I would love to, I can send this marketing plan over to you. There's a little bit about social media, but it'll kind of give you a more overall picture of the brand and where we're taking it and whatnot. And I said, that's great. Like if you're not comfortable sharing certain things with me about that plan, go ahead and take them out, send it over. That's fine. Anyway, I never got the plan on Friday. So Monday, and today is Thursday that I'm filming this. So Monday, I sent her another email just saying, hey, it was so great chatting with you. If you want to send that marketing plan over, I can work on, I know you said you didn't have a budget, but, I can certainly work on a few tiers and we can talk about this and do more. That was Monday morning. And like I said, now it's Thursday afternoon and crickets. So I think she maybe got a vibe from me. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe she talked to the owner and the owner's like, what do you mean you want someone to do social media? No, I'm absolutely not going to do that. Like, who knows? I'm not going to take it personal. I don't care. It was an opportunity. I went for it. It is what it is. So I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys how you do a gut check. It's funny to me how as immediately when my friend texted this over and sent me a link to their business profile on their website and Instagram, that I was just like, I don't know. I was scrolling through their Instagram and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. So you have to listen to your gut. I mean, the other time I worked with a person who had their own cookie business, and I went above and beyond for this person. And this person, it was their business and they were putting a lot of money into it and they were starting it from scratch. I mean, starting a business from the ground up and selling cookies, like how hard is that? I get it. And they didn't really want to do ads. So we were kind of doing everything organically, and man, doing stuff organically. And he also had a website person, right? And sometimes I think the website people think the social media people are dumb. Well, guess what? The social media people think the web people are dumb. So, because I do both. I do both social media and web. It's not that hard. And so he was another one that was very difficult. He trusted us, but I always had this feeling that he felt like we weren't doing everything that we said we were going to do or that we promised to do. Even though there's a contract that spells everything out, and even though we had regular meetings, he was just never happy. And I just think a lot of business owners have unrealistic expectations as well. Like other people who have nothing about social media or nothing about their business or marketing are like chirping in their ear and telling him like, oh, well, this person did that and that, and like, blah. And you don't know. And then you're sitting here going, well, bud, I don't know what to tell you, but it doesn't work that way, right? Like, you want to sell cookies, we need to spend money on Meta and do ads. Honestly, like, you are at a very crowded market. Why wouldn't someone just go to the freaking grocery store and buy the bakery cookies rather than ordering from you, waiting for it to come? How fresh is it? On and on. So that was another business owner that, we tried. I was with them for like 6 months. I had my girlfriends who are influencers video stuff for him and create things that I paid for personally. I paid for it personally. I paid them personally to make that content for me, just to help out with the organic social media. And and they don't see that. I mean, you try and explain that stuff to them, but they don't see that. So, and then I had another gentleman who had an energy drink in the hunting space. So it was like it was like a camo can energy drink. I don't even remember. And he was another one. At that time on my website, I had We Heart Entrepreneurs. So I had We and then a Heart Entrepreneurs, because at the time I was I was kind of digging into working with entrepreneurs. And he's like, oh, I saw on the website, your website, you had We Heart Entrepreneurs. He's like, I really love seeing that. You know how to work with entrepreneurs. I'm like, I do know how to work with entrepreneurs. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. That's all I've ever known is not working for quote unquote the man. And I do enjoy working for startup businesses and whatever, but I have since taken that off my website. That is no longer on my website. Because I have been burned too many times, by entrepreneurs. And he was another one where we didn't even get the thing off the ground. Like, he was on the phone with us and he was, jibber jabbering and saying all the things. And, like, he didn't like what we were saying. Like, he was going 0 to 80 and we were like, hey, let's bring that down. Let's crawl before we walk, before we run. And he was on a full sprint, and he didn't like that. Sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs don't like it when you challenge them. And that's sad because they need that. They need that challenge. And so you have to know when to push and when to just shut up. And, I'm going to, now at this age, in my stage of life, I tend to push. I tend to be really truthful. I tend to be really honest because I have learned if you're not honest, if you're not truthful, it just doesn't pan out for anyone involved. And like feelings are hurt or like they think that you suck as, a consultant or whatever it may be, right? So I am very forthcoming when I work with people and very, very I just don't dance around, and I think a lot of consultants are like that. We do not have time for dancing. We do not have time for political mumbo jumbo. It just doesn't work in our stage of life anymore, in our business. It just doesn't work in our business. So you want something, you call me, I will get it to you. I don't make excuses. If I can't make a call, you know what I say? I'm sorry, I can't make this call. There is no, I'm sorry, I can't make a call. I'm sick. I'm sorry, I can't make a call. I have to run an errand. I'm sorry, I have to make a call, whatever. I can't make it. The end. Let's reschedule. That's how I do things. And some people like it and some people don't. I had a client in South Carolina that I learned culturally, South Carolina is a lot different than Minnesota. And in my head, I knew South Carolina was different than Minnesota. They were Baptist, I'm Catholic. Like, I knew that. Like, I knew there were things that, we were a lot similar on, but I also knew that we were very, very different. And that relationship, well, it lasted about 2.5 years. We did part ways, and I think it was because I was too strong. I was too strong for them in South Carolina. I came on too strong. And as a woman in South Carolina, as a business owner, you need to not be so strong. You need to be more submissive. And that is not me. I am not submissive. Sometimes I swear. That did not go over well, I think, with them either. I try not to swear, but I get very passionate. You can see in my videos, I get very passionate about what I do. So yeah, anyway, thank you for being here today. I would love to hear any stories of you working with entrepreneurs and small business owners and, listening to your gut. Bye.